Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Sports. And France have beaten Argentina in their final Autumn Nations clash. Final score 37 points to 23. Argentina with a very spirited second half performance, but we're just chasing too much of the game after a really sloppy first half. Ill discipline and too much pressure from a very good and very dominant French side in that first half was ultimately really the difference. And a game which clearly shows the strengths of both sides as well as their weaknesses. So a very interesting game to watch from that perspective for France. They'll be the happier of the two sides, especially in that first half. They'll be a little bit worried in that second half in terms of how they didn't manage to really get into the game much. But at the same time, we'll be happy with the defense and the fact that they, kept Argentina down 23 points despite the amount of possession and opportunities they had. Before we get into the game, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Felipe Conteponi will watch that match and say that the biggest issue with Argentina is they continued to concede points at silly times. And what I mean by that is that I think on 3 or 4 occasions they conceded points almost 2 to 3 minutes after scoring points. So every single time they kind of took a step, they would then have to take a step back. Because France would just go and nullify those points or just cancel them out. And you can't chase a game like that. You can't try and get into a game if you're getting 3 points and then 2 minutes later they're canceling out the 3 points and it keeps building. So that was the biggest frustration for Argentina. And we've seen it before. Discipline, discipline, discipline. A yellow card to Montoya, which France scored a try during, as well as the yellow card to Gonzalez, which resulted in a penalty try. And you think that's 14 points conceded. Not necessarily within 14 points down, but Gonzalez, goes down with 14 points. Basically, 14 points conceded because of 2 yellow cards. They lose by 14 points. It's not necessarily that simple in terms of mathematics, but it's kind of the story of Argentina, isn't it? Their lack of discipline continues to plague them. And when they're on, they're on. That second half, there was 70% possession in the last 10 minutes. And at some stage, it looked really, really good. Some very good last-ditch defending from France. But this Argentina side's on the rise. And I think will be very good in a couple of years' time. Under Conteponi, I'm very excited to see what they're going to look like at the World Cup. But for France, well, they're looking very... I think the main thing from France, they looked dominant in that first half. And they did the business when they needed to. And a couple of their players, especially the youngsters, are really standing up. Leo Barrow, what a find he has become. And Sean Edwards on screen will probably be quite happy with that performance. Maybe conceding a couple of tries that maybe they shouldn't have. But at the end of the day, with the amount that Argentina had to attack, in theory, I think actually they did quite well, did France to keep the scores down. In terms of how the game unfolded, an early yellow card for a bit of a weird crop goal from Montoya. Not a very popular decision among social media. Very interesting to see because he didn't really go on and turn it. He was kind of behind the guy, he was actually underneath him when he sort of took the weight. So it was quite an interesting call. But Thibaut Fleury went over in the 8th minute. Thomas Ramos added the extra 2. Thomas Albanese got the first penalty, and this is what I mean. Albanese penalty in the 14th minute, Ramos penalty in the 15th minute. Albanese penalty in the 19th minute, Ramos penalty in the 22nd minute. Both times, Argentina making big mistakes of kickoffs and conceding those 3 points. Thomas Albanese then got another penalty in the 25th minute before they then conceded a try in the 32nd, Ramos adding an extra 2. And all of a sudden, at 20 points to 9, you suddenly can't take the 3 points anymore. And I felt there were stages in that first half where Argentina, I think, should have been braver and could have risked going to the corner, trying to score a try. Because I always felt they were never going to beat France with 3 points each time. They needed to score tries to try and beat France. And Gonzalez then got a yellow card for a penalty try in the 34th minute, running back. To be fair, he did very well to get ahead of Biabare. I think what he wanted to do was basically knock the ball over and then try and regather, but he knocked the ball basically forward, ran into Biabare, was completely meant he had no chance of ever getting to the ball. Very clearly knocked it forward and penalty try. And then Thomas Ramos added an extra 3 points just before half time. At 20 points to 9, you think Argentina might be able to come back. 30 points to 9, far too much. And once again, Thomas Gaujo eventually scores for Argentina in the 55th minute before, basically back-to-back charge downs on Bas and Varles, and Biabari eventually goes over less than a minute after Albanese had added the conversion. So, you go from 21 points down to 14 points down, straight back 21 points down. Then a really nice try being scored by Ignatius Ruiz. Good dominance there as Argentina really started to settle into the set piece. Albanese adds the extras, but 11 minutes to go, 14 points. Always too big of a mountain to climb. If you look at some of the stats, they're quite interesting. I mean, Argentina 157 carries, for example. Territory had less territory, but 56% possession, 71 in the last 10 minutes. Their scrum percentage, in the first half, France had the dominance, but I'll tell you what, George Henry Kaloum is another week where he's really struggled at scrum time, and Thomas Gaucho gave him a good go in that second half. The Argentina lineup was pretty good. I think they lost just one, but they were very good at competing with the French one, disrupted quite a lot. But let me look at the post-contact meters. France with 298, Argentina with 438, 157 carries, 187 passes. So this is what I mean by, I think Sean Edwards will look at 438 meters in post-contact meters, and yet the tries that were scored were forward-based tries and just, power. So not really sort of something that he'll, really be responsible for in terms of line breaks and the likes of that. In terms of penalties conceded, 10 by France, 9 from Argentina. They cleaned up their act in the second half, didn't get any yellow cards. Defensively, though, France, 174 tackles made, 26 missed, 87% completion, and did outkick Argentina. In terms of some top performers, I mean, Thomas Albanese, 19 carries, Oviedo, 13, Charles Olivan, 12. Charles Olivan with 19 tackles. Oviedo, though, those two, the number 8s. Different gravy tonight, really, to be honest. Both of them really, really good. 3 turnovers lost by Anton Dupont. That was quite interesting. Gonzalo Garcia, I wonder if he's maybe actually given a bit of a insight into Dupont, who loves to pick up the ball and kind of drift before popping it or going it. And Gonzalo Garcia on 2 occasions went through and directly on the ball ripped it off of Dupont. And that's something that Dupont, I'm sure, now will fix very quickly. But it was an interesting thing because it was clearly something he had looked at and researched and was waiting to see. But in general, meters carried, John Martin Gonzalez 107, Albanese 90. But Leo Barre, I tell you what, he is going to be something special for France. You've got Ramos at fullback most of the time, but playing fly half at the moment. But you've got this 22-year-old. And I don't think they'll be too upset that Mathieu Jalabert decided he doesn't need to come play. Because you could have Ramos at fullback. When Intermac is back, you have him at 10. Leo Barre coming off the bench. He looks a really, really special player. So that was the game. I think Argentina, as I said, watch them on the rise. You won't see them for another sort of 6-7 months. We'll see France, obviously, I think it's beginning of February when the Six Nations starts. But lots of work for both teams to do. But I do think that we saw 2 top sides. And I think 14 points in the game doesn't really show you how close it generally was. The screen's actually saying that Argentina made 941 meters, by the way, interestingly enough. But let me know what you thought of the game down in the comments below. Please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.